Well, with the Amazonas event coming up on the NA version of the game, I thought, well, it seems like it's about that time that I put out my event guide because I have been getting questions about this event, especially more from newer players or people that just aren't as knowledgeable about like what this event is. But honestly, if you've done the Setsubun event, you pretty much know exactly how this one is going to play out. It's literally just another tower event. It's really not all that hard. We're going to go over all the details in today's video. If you enjoy FGO content, I upload FGO videos every single day, and all I ask for in return is a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel. If you want another free way to help support the channel, I'm affiliated by all means with LD Emulator and Loot Cakes, linked down in the description down below. And then finally, if you want more content from me because you just can't get enough of the ZTL hype train, then you can my Twitch is linked down in the description down below. I can't believe I just said that, but my Twitch is linked down in the description down below. I stream every weekday, and you can click that join button to become a channel member and get access to channel member exclusive content. Now, with that being said, let's just go ahead and talk about this event. So, if you're not familiar with what a tower event is in FGO, well, basically what you're going to do, and it's just easier if I actually show you what this looks like, you're going to be going through a lot of just different random quests. You're going to fight, you know, this node of enemies. Then you're going to fight this node of enemies. And you're going to fight this node of enemies, and so on and so forth. And you're going to slowly build up to every 10th floor where, depending on what tower you're going to be going up against, whether it's one of these towers or this one, you're going to be basically fighting some boss at that 10th stage. Like every 10th interval, you'll do something new. Now, for these two towers, every 10th stage is going to be like some new main quest story node. It's really this one right here, the EX Artemis one, where things might get a little difficult for some players, because as you can see here, you're starting to get like different things that happen when their break bars are broken, and especially when you start getting into the higher like 60s and up, you're starting to see that they're starting to do a bit more and more. But honestly, if you've made it past things like Camelot or Babylonia, even you started to get into like the more 1.5 type quests, it's really not going to be anything that you can't handle with a lot of these nodes. Really, the more difficult part of the event that I would say is just managing the amount of servants you have, because if you didn't know, the main gimmick of the event is this: it's not that there's a bunch of just random stages for you to do, it's that you can't reuse the same servant you already used to complete a quest for a few hours. Basically, you gotta like take your servant and like throw them in this little special area in the event node. Like you'll see it in the event menu. You can basically place up like 5 servants at a time, and they'll get a increased cooldown bonus, so you can get them back, and I believe it's an hour, but the other servants, it takes like 4 to 5 hours for them to come back. So that's kind of the main thing for the event. It's just micromanaging your servants. At least that's what it should have been. But if you look at this is not a very hard quest. In fact, you can pretty much get a lot of these done with just like one servant. You can just throw in random other people that you know you're not going to use into this node. Like for this one, you could just bring like any halfway decent AoE saber. I mean, everybody's got Fergus. You're not gonna kill this guy with your NP, but you'll do a lot of damage, and you could probably just finish them off with a bunch of face cards. And if you want to bring other people, because you have to bare minimum have 3 people in your party, you can just bring people like Leonidas or Corday or just other lower rarity servants that I know everybody will have to at least fill slots, and you can just get it done that way. Like, it's really not that hard of a quest. Most of the stages you can solo. In fact, even a lot of the actual quote-unquote boss stages here, you can solo with servants as well. It's really not all that difficult. It's really just making sure that you micromanage all of your different servants. Now, some of the other things that I wanted to talk about, because that's pretty much it as far as like the main meat and gimmick of the quest goes. That's pretty much the main chunk of it. There's little things like these. The raid quest over here, I wanted to go ahead and clarify for some people that may be getting like really gassed up, or they're getting like really excited. These are not actual raids. These are a one-time clear. You cannot do this numerous times. Basically, the only way it resembles a raid is that you can keep slamming your head into the quest until you beat the boss. So if you can't put out basically 3 million damage on your first run, because you're also limited to 15 turns, if you can't do it then, let's say you took out 1 million HP off the boss, then you can just go back in and, you've already taken 1 million HP off, and you can keep fighting them over and over again until you actually beat the boss, right? So it's not like a traditional raid that you can farm over and over again, because I don't want to see people being like, oh dude, this has hearts, this is a really good raid. It's like, it's a good drop, like getting 5 hearts, but just do understand it's not a raid by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the drops are fine. They're giving you like a bunch of the gold rarity items that, you know, you probably will use for most of these people, but other than that, they're pretty, like, even if you're kind of struggling, like, even if your box isn't the best, the fact that you can just literally slam your head into this an infinite amount of times makes it, you know, kind of childish when you think about it that way. Because if you can just kind of constantly just keep pouring damage into it, you'll get through it eventually, right? It is something that you literally theoretically cannot lose, because you can just keep slamming your head into the event until you actually beat them. And then really, that's kind of the major thing there. Then I guess we could talk about the challenge quest. But in my opinion, the challenge quest, really, you should just go for beating the CEO first, and then you can beat this one. I would take them out individually, because you really don't want to proc both of these at the same time, unless you're pretty much going to be able to guaranteed two-shot them, basically. Like you clear their first break bars with like an AoE servant, then you can guarantee clear the second bars. Or maybe you can just guarantee a 3-turn, like maybe you obliterate their first bar, and then you can obliterate, you know, this one with an NP plus a Brave Chain, and then you have a third NP ready that you could blow up with like a Brave Chain and some like crits or something, right? If you can do that, it really doesn't matter. But if you're going to be in this one more for the long haul, I'd probably go after this one first, because this one seems a bit more annoying. Although this with the crit damage buff can also be a little annoying, but I just would prefer to get this one out of the way first, because when she dies, she just gives the other one an NP gauge of 2 for one time. That's really it. This one's going to be smacking you with like a 4k HP demerit, which can get some of your servants killed if you're a little bit lower on HP, which, you know, maybe that means you want to take this one out first early on. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I'm just saying that, like, when I do it, I'm probably just going to beat this one first and then this one, but it really doesn't matter because it's not all that difficult. They're both berserkers, which does mean they'll be doing a lot of damage to your party, but that also means you can absolutely obliterate them with whoever you want to use. And then if we just look at like Pentacilia's traits, by the way, the CEO is also Pentacilia. If you open up this, it's just another Pentacilia as well. She's just wearing glasses. But if you look at some of her traits, there's definitely things you can exploit here, like Divine and Female. If you have your own Gilgamesh, you can definitely abuse that as well. Hey, if you want to take advantage of Scheherazade, you got that right there as well. But definitely the two that you probably will be able to exploit the most are things like Divine and Female. If you want to use somebody like Enkidu to just kind of chain stun one of them and just obliterate them, that's definitely possible. And then if you want to bring someone like Jack and have her just absolutely tear them apart, you can bring someone like Jack. Definitely things that you can exploit for this challenge quest. I mean, bringing someone like Jack also might be good, because then you get this NP gen buff. I guess that might also be pretty good. I guess you could do that if you're able to, lucky enough, get that. And Jack does like getting extra NP gain. But yeah, that's really it for the challenge quest. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of like complexity to this event. It's just a tower event, right? It's just nothing like super insane. Even the event CE that we get is really just not the most crazy thing in the world. I mean, 15% NP gain is pretty good, and then like the NP gauge and stars per turn, if you don't have anything else as a free-to-play player, like if you maybe just started the game, this might be good, but otherwise you're probably just gonna go for something like better than this. It's kind of just like generic good stuff, the CE, but it's not really doubling down on anything. It's not really competing with a lot of the other ones. And unfortunately, it is a split CE. If you don't know, you either really want it to be a max attack CE, which is like the most ideal to go for, because getting 2,000 extra attack is very impactful. At the very least, you also, if you're going to have it split into one, maybe just give me some of that HP. But when it's like a little bit of both, it just tends to not be very great at all. You have a banner coming out, which has Cleopatra, Penthesilea, and Hime on it. It's a decent banner, not the worst thing I've ever seen on the entire planet, but would probably advise people to just not summon on it. Like, I think that's pretty obvious. They're all fine, but keep in mind, this is a pretty crazy year for us, and there's a lot of very top tier servants that are going to be coming out that are like very meta defining, especially characters like Castoria coming out. It just kind of is like, do you want to summon for Cleopatra? Probably not. Do you want to summon for Osaka Behime? Probably not. I mean, she's getting her costume, and her costume's pretty cute. Like the little like Jeff Bezos glasses, that's pretty nice. but is it really worth summoning for? Again, probably not. So yeah, really, with that being said, that's pretty much it for the event. Like, just try to have a decent bit of servants and make sure you're on top of the ball. But let me tell you, like, I did the Setsubun event on my NA account when it was still fairly fresh. Like, I did not have a whole lot of servants leveled up. And the fact that you can just pretty much bring like 2 dummy servants and then 1 main servant to solo it, you could pretty much get through it like very easily with that in mind. Like, it's really just not all that hard to do. You're not going to be able to rely on your friends at all for this event as well. It's kind of just a you thing. You got to do it without your friends. It's very similar to oh, we had another. It's the name of the event is escaping me, but we had another event like this where you weren't able to use any of your friends either, which was a little bad for newer players. But do keep in mind, you could quite easily get through this. Like, it's really not all that hard to do. But with that being said, hopefully this helped you guys out. Hopefully you're a little bit more at ease with this event. If you really have to, I believe the NA version has all of the different EXP days opened up. Level up a lot of like your low rarity servants if you're really worried about it, because they're very cheap to get up there, and they'll definitely help you out a lot in this event. So yeah, with all that being said, you guys have such a nice day. Have a good, just shot at the event, and I'm gone. Peace late, guys.